Healthcare should be a right for everyone in this country.
Healthcare should be a right
to make healthcare more affordable.
Healthcare is a right.
I want to get to universal healthcare insurance.
I love them so much. I am joined by one of my dear friends, Miss Marianne Williamson. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for all of your support you've given us for the past year.
Oh, well, I'm honored to be here, and I think you're incredible, and I really acknowledge the extraordinary work that you have done leading this movement, and you really are a leader and a star, and good on you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So we were actually talking a little bit before we went live, and you know, you haven't always been like a hardcore national Medicare for all supporter. So can you kind of talk about when you became more and more devout to that?
I hurt myself. I had a rotator cuff injury, which is a fairly common injury, and a fairly common surgery, although getting over the surgery is known to be very painful. So first I had pain in my shoulder, and a doctor told me, you're either going to live with that pain. There's no non-invasive way to fix this because they'd taken all the tests. He said, it might be painful getting over the surgery, but then you'll be pain-free. So I wrote on my Facebook page that night, because I was in pain even before the surgery, and I told people, you know, I have a rotator cuff injury, and, you know, if any of you do Reiki or send energy or prayers or anything like that. And that night I got 5,000 comments, and I was overwhelmed by how many people live with the pain of the rotator cuff injury, much like I had, who said, my insurance doesn't cover it. And I realized from that and the conversation that people were having, I had no idea how many Americans live with chronic pain. Because I was thinking, how would you go to work? Then after that, so I was thinking, my God, thank God I have the insurance that would cover this. Then after the surgery, it was an extremely painful recovery, even with all the pain medication. And I one day asked the pharmacist, I said, and I had very good surgery, I had very good insurance that covered it all. But I asked the pharmacist one day, how much do these pills normally cost? And when he told me, I thought, my God, as painful as this was, I mean, I barely, even with the pain medication, was like screaming out in pain, and they would have to take me to the hospital for emergency. It was really terrible. And I thought, how would this be if I did not have these pain pills? And I talked to people who would have things like, well, my insurance covered the surgery, but then my insurance didn't cover the pain pills. And so that experience, yeah, it radicalized me. I realized no one should have to go through this. No one should have to go through this. And like I said, that first night I heard so much testimony from people who just live every day with chronic pain because of surgeries that are not covered in their with their insurance, et cetera. I had always thought pretty much before that. I remember after I gave birth to my daughter, the doctor had wanted me to stay in the hospital one more night and the insurance wouldn't allow it. And I remembered how angry he got. And at the time, I didn't even know it was that big a deal. And then somebody later said to me, you had that, which was the situation that I had. And I went, yeah. He said, and then you didn't stay in the hospital? So just the things that happened, I had felt before, well, with Medicaid, et cetera, but I get it now. And,
Absolutely.
That's why I think what you're doing is so important, because people have to process things. I remember reading once about advertising that people have to see a product advertised 3 times maybe before they notice it. And I think with issues, I felt the same way with Julian Assange. At first, it wasn't on my radar, and then I kept hearing people talk and then something focuses and then you're like, oh my God. And I felt the same way with Medicare for All. And that's why it's so important that you do what you do. Because, there are probably people listening tonight who, maybe they're not all the way there. And you listen to one more commentary, you read one more article, you go to one more rally, and you sort of cross over. And I think, what Bernie Sanders did, he created the mainstream conversation. And now it's our job to keep pushing and once again acknowledging you because of all that you do to make sure that we do keep pushing. And we'll get there. I think that, already the majority of Americans want Medicare for all. The majority of Americans want universal health care. In that great video you showed at the beginning, people like Klobuchar, I want to get there. I'm so tired of hearing these politicians say they want to get there. No. Just do it. No, because I'm not going to take on the insurance companies. I'm not going to take on the pharmaceutical companies, but we will work on these incremental approaches to getting there. That is what needs to stop.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm in Harrisburg, PA area. So I'm right by the Capitol. So they know me very well. And I went to my governor's office the one day with a bag of my medications and just dumped them on his desk and said, here, now what? It's things like these. We have to do them. Accountability. That's the only thing that gives even the littlest hope of change. Now we do see so much, in Twitterverse, that it can get so toxic. And what I always say is that healthcare is not a political issue; it is a human rights issue. But people treat it as a political issue. What's your take on that?
Well, it is a political issue, obviously, but the point is that we're the richest country in the world. The point is that every other advanced democracy has universal health care. The point is that there is no reason for the private insurance industry over and above. I wouldn't have a problem with some private insurance industry. I know that's a conversation some people have over and above, depending on how you design your universal health care system. When you look at not just in terms of universal health care, but in so many issues, Americans are beginning to awaken to how the average Western European, for instance, gets so much more service from their government. And we have a government which now does more to service the insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies than to serve the people of the United States. And that is a political issue, but in the sense that we need to understand what politics is. Politics, the word politics comes from the root politeia, which means of the people. And so when you say it's a human rights issue, I think it's particularly a human rights issue in a democracy where theoretically the purpose of the government is to secure the happiness and the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for the people. So the withhold of universal health care is, to me, a transgression against the basic principles on which American democracy is meant to stand.
Absolutely. And if we haven't seen it in 2 years of a pandemic, and even when, there is something called 1881A, where it was successful in Libby, Montana, when there was bad air quality and all of a sudden everybody had Medicare for all. Biden could do that with a flick of a pen, give us all 100% coverage. He is not. So with us not getting that during a pandemic, what do you think it's going to take?
Well, I think what it's going to take is what's happening right now. I think particularly since the Roe v. Wade decision, this is a moment where the raw moral bankruptcy of our political establishment, the entire neoliberal establishment, both in the Democrats as well as among the Republicans, everybody sees it now. Everybody sees that we have the people of the United States serve our economic system rather than our economic system serving the people of the United States, even to the point where, as you said, during a pandemic, the system would rather watch people literally drop dead than bend. Anything that, the bottom line is that anything that would in any way encroach on the capitalist profit motive, oh, no, it's okay for people to die if it would in any way, their survival would challenge that corporate profit motive. I think people are seeing it. So when you say, what's it going to take? I think people are seeing it. I think that a lot of people thought, okay, Donald Trump, of course, is not going to in any way disrupt the profit-making motive of the insurance companies or pharmaceutical companies. And if he couldn't articulate that, Jared Kushner certainly did. Anything that had to do with, the capitalist profit-making motive during the pandemic. But I think a lot of us thought, I don't know, we're going to have a Democratic president. And like you said, he could do it with a flip of his pen. Biden, when he came in, the president could have said, this is a medical emergency. COVID has been a medical emergency. It could have been an excuse for expanding Medicare for all, and he could do it like that. You were talking before about that bill and the way the town in Montana was covered because of a medical emergency, Medicare for all. If there's any sign of systemic racism in America, it's the fact that that town in Montana got that and Flint, Michigan did not. It's horrifying.
100%. Me and two of my teammates met with Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib yesterday, and she works with a lot of people in Flint, and she was discussing that point as well. Flint is like being subject to eugenics, essentially. It's disgusting. It is racist.
And in the last few days, they have dropped all charges against the former governor, Rick Snyder, et cetera, and others. No one will be held accountable for that horrible crime. It's crime against humanity, what has occurred there. And like you said, it's continuing. Why doesn't everybody in Flint have Medicare for all?
Yeah, and they're still being made to pay their water bills, it's truly, it's incredible. And, we're both supporters of Stephen Donziger. We've seen, the work he's done as well. We did a 3-day conference, a summit back in the end of April, where we did 20 hours of panels on healthcare. And one of the panels we did was on environmental issues with healthcare. How do you think that, not just the pandemic, but how do you think that corresponds?
Well, all of it has to do with, once again, the primacy of property rights. Excuse me. I had COVID a couple of weeks ago, and I still have my COVID cough, so forgive me. Excuse me. You were asking about environmental issues.
Yes.
These are all connected, obviously. This has to do with the primacy of profit-making motive. So anything that makes it impossible for fossil fuel companies to make money, insurance companies to make money, big food companies to make money, gun manufacturers to make money, big pharmaceutical companies to make money, defense contractors to make money. And then you have all that corporate money, which of course then is poured into the coffers of politicians, making our political system a system of legalized bribery. And what you have is just this, first of all, beginning with this massive transfer of wealth over the last 40 years into the hands of 1%, but now this continuing perpetration of injustice against the people of the United States whenever the safety and the health and the well-being of people would in any way impinge upon that corporate profit-making motive. But people are seeing it. And that's what, that's what to me, this is not just about human rights. And you say it's not a political issue. I think it's a serious political issue because an unjust political system hurts people.
Very true. Very true.
Joy, I just wanted to quickly interrupt. Sorry for the interruption, but we have some good news. We have just received a very generous donation from the state of California, and that amount is $1,000.
Wow. That
okay, everybody match that. When you said a donation from the state of California, I thought,
I know, like the state of California. Wow. Oh my God. That is a great way to kick it off. Wow. Okay. I'm not trying to cry yet. Like that, maybe at the end, but I'm not. This is, wow. Thank you all so much. This is so important. One of the other things I wanted to ask you is, you know, we got this last year, you know, we organized 56 events or actions all across the nation, 56 cities. And we're no stranger to this is stupid. What's the point? You know, and, you know, I feel like last year you were our keynote in DC and gave a fire speech. It was so good. And, you know, doing things like that, I find that there is no other kind of solidarity than there is when you do events like that. And you are standing with people who, it doesn't matter what party they're registered in or what, you know, how they feel on other things. You don't talk about other things. All you know is you are all there. You are together. It's organic. It's beautiful. And it is true solidarity. And I wanted to, you know, get your take on, you know, is that kind of how you feel when you do events like that?
Well, I've been a political activist for 30 years, more than 30 years, 40 years. So wait, I'm like, really, we're talking like 50 years now. And so you never know. You know, there could be 5 people, there could be 500 people, there could be 5,000 people at an event. But what matters is the energy that is created. You never know who's listening. You never know. I'm thinking about that event in Washington, and I remember seeing Victoria Dooley there, who I hadn't seen in a while. I think that's where I met Afeni. You know, a lot of this, you were talking about solidarity, a lot of activism is about meeting your tribe, meeting other people who are interested in the same kinds of issues. We know that hatred and bigotry and racism has been harnessed for political purposes. And our job now is to harness justice and mercy and democracy for political purposes in a whole new way. So movement building is everything right now. And so, you know, I've lived long enough. How many people were there? I don't know how many people were there. How many people are watching the live stream? I don't know how many people are watching the live stream. The important thing is that you never know who is watching. You never know who is in the audience. You know, when I was in high school, I had a drama teacher. And big stars, people who have become big stars, in Hollywood were in my drama class. And the teacher was a man named Cecil Pickett. And even though I didn't become an actress, I did become someone who speaks in front of an audience. And I know why so many people in his class went on to do what we do. And this is what he used to tell us. If there are 2 people in the audience or there are 2,000 people in the audience, you act your heart out. And I have always seen that in my career. Doesn't matter who's there. Doesn't matter how many people are there. You never know who's there. You never know who you're talking to. And that's why I feel sometimes people feel like, I did a live stream and not many people watched. You don't know. You don't know who might be, up in the middle of the night coming across your YouTube at some point. And that's how we all have to see all this right now. It's just kind of like somebody was talking to me today. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember who this was. We were talking about the Roe v. Wade issue. I can't remember. Oh, it was my friend Brian. Every woman in America, every tweet should have "in the filibuster." Every tweet should have "pack the court." Every tweet. We just need to keep saying it. That's one of the things about the right. The right will say something. People on the right will say something, and you're horrified. And you know what they do? They say it again. What the Democrats do is they say something, people don't like it, and they back up. Almost like, I'm sorry. That. No, you say what's true, you say what's right. And if people are offended by it, say it again. And or in my case, it would be so many times people saying, oh, Marianne, I've heard that so many times. I've heard it so many times. Do I have to hear about Julian Assange again? Do I have to hear about Stephen Thunziger again? Do I have to hear about whatever it is again? And then I'd say, have I told you the one about, you can't, that line, well-behaved women rarely make history. We have to be willing to be seen as obnoxious.
Absolutely.
Because what the system calls obnoxious is any woman who won't shut up.
You got it. Absolutely. Oh, you always give me goosebumps. Yes. And I know I only had you for a short time tonight because you are finishing a book, another book. Hopefully it'll be like your 35th bestseller.
Thank you.
I love, if you haven't read any of Marianne's books, please do. I can't thank you enough. I love you to pieces. You are just a wonderful person. And for those who don't know, Marianne actually helped do a fundraiser for me last year, and that gave me the money to have my blind accessibility equipment. And that was after doing one show with you. You're like, look, how much money do we have to raise? And I'm like, what? And I was just kind of blown away because nobody's kind of like me up like that.
Well,
So you are just a wonderful soul, and I just love you.
Well, your bravery, your courage, your consistency, I think that's what people see in you. A lot of people just say, we have to be in all of these things, not just Medicare for all, but all of these larger issues of democratic freedoms and social justice. And it's exhausting. And that's what the opponents of these issues are assuming, that we'll get tired. And you just keep on going. You just keep on going. And that's what then compels other people. If somebody says, Joy's doing something, I'm doing another one. We have to, and I think particularly as women, we have to show up. When you see a woman doing something that's a good thing, show up. And also, Joy, I think, speaking of the larger movement, we have got to stop demonizing someone who has the audacity to not agree with us about every little thing. And we'll never get there. I think sometimes people on the left need to develop more. We haven't had mainstream power in so long that many on the left have lost or never developed the sort of psychological musculature of power. And I think that there are elements of that, such as consistency, perseverance, showing up, and not complaining if all of your companions along the way don't agree with you about everything. We are so close, whether it has to do with universal health care and other things as well. We're getting there. The American people are hearing us. The American people are listening. And I think we have a lot to feel encouraged by, a lot to feel hopeful for. We just have to keep going. And thank you for all that you do as you continue to keep going, even in the midst of your own struggles and your own trials, the way that you just keep on keeping on. You inspire me, and I know you inspire so many. So thank you, Joy.
Thank you so much. Much love, Marianne.
Much love to you too, darling. All my best. I hope you raise a lot of money tonight.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You guys, I can't handle her. I love her so much. Like, you guys have no idea. Like, to you guys, she's just like a cool chick who has 3 million followers. Hey, Joe. I'm sorry.
Hey,
I thought we were going to meet and then bringing in my next guest. So I was just rambling.
It's okay. You know
So
how
this-
live works, right?
What's that?
I said, you know how live really works, right?
My show will be 5 years old next month. Oh, yeah. So everybody, this is Joe Charest. If you've seen any of my disability panels, we have done a few together. And I think Joe's story is so important because it's not Joe who is disabled. It's actually her son. And she deals with struggles continuously on how to take care of him full time. So it's a really great perspective that not a lot of people consider. So Joe, do you just kind of want to start by telling your story?
Sure. My son, who is 22 now, he was born with cerebral palsy, and I've been taking care of him by myself without a whole lot of help from almost zero help from his dad, and very little help from the system. And we lost our home and community-based supports shortly after our Medicaid system became privatized. That was back when we had Amerigroup. And so I've really been struggling trying to help take care of him and take care of myself at the same time. And there's not a lot of support out there for the caregivers. I was hoping that this universal home and community-based supports would have gotten passed this year in Congress, but it doesn't look like anything's going to happen on that end. And that would have given caregivers some help, but we need real help. We need to stop throwing money at agencies that aren't doing anything. We have close to 5,000 Kansans who are waiting 8+ years for home and community-based supports, and that number keeps growing.
Is that something you have to reapply for, like with income?
Once you're approved, you're on it for life.
Oh, I see.
But if you don't use it, then they say there's a chance that you could lose it. Well, our problem was that we got one bad care attendant after another, and we got burnt out. And I told Amerigroup, and they came out and did their yearly assessment on us. I said, we need help finding a decent care attendant who isn't like strung out on drugs or, has a freaking weird record or anything like that. And they acted like they were going to help us, and they didn't. Instead they kicked us off. And when you try to get back on the waiver, you have to come in under crisis, which in our case, we'd have to come back under crisis, and we would have to show that there's unmitigating circumstances that create a hazard for Anthony to take care of himself, which for me, that would look like maybe neglect on my part. And yeah, So, and I'm not comfortable with that because I grew up in a household. I actually grew up having to go to foster homes because my mom neglected us. My bio mom neglected us. And for me to have to look like I'm being a neglectful parent, caregiver, knowing what I came from, that does not sit well with me. So I've been fighting the system for I don't know how long on this. I still have not made any headway on getting us back on the waiver. Our case manager got fired in the middle of trying to get us back on the waiver, and then we played case management musical chairs for almost a year. So it just feels like we get one step forward and about 10 steps back. And I was doing some research and I was just like, I appeared twice before the Home and Community Based Supports Committee that oversees CanCare. And I realized that those committees hearings, they're not for us, the people that are on it. Those are so that the state can make sure that these insurance companies that have taken over the state Medicaid system, are actualizing a profit for the state, and profit to them looks like cutting people. And so if they can find reasons, like they did with us, to cut a family off, well, then that's a savings for them on the front end.
Exactly.
And that's wrong. And there's so many things with home and community-based supports that need to be reformed. And I started thinking, well, why aren't the Democrats in the state house doing anything about this? Because at the time, our senator was now Laura Kelly. She was then our senator. And I went to her and I tried to get some help, and I didn't get any help from her. And I started looking at every Democrat that is on those committees, at least on this committee. And I found out that there are 16 Democrats that are taking money from the insurance companies that oversee CanCare to the tune of $40,000 total. And I'm like, and then these insurance companies say, well, we don't have the money to do this, but you have the money to give to a candidate. You have $4,000 to give to a candidate. Hello, $4,000 would get a family off the waiting list easily. $40,000.
$4,000 to a politician is going to buy them like $1 million by the time they deny everyone in the state, or what have you. That's so
yes,
disgusting.
exactly. And I'm like, $40,000 would go a long ways in maybe getting 2 families off the waiting list, maybe hiring a decent care attendant, because here in Kansas, the maximum is $9.30 an hour that you can pay a care attendant. They get no benefits, no continuing education. Maximum cap is $9.30 an hour. That's what we were told when we were hiring somebody.
What? Oh my God, that job is so hard.
It is. They're underpaid.
Never heard of a maximum wage.
That is not, yep, it's $9.30 an hour. You can start as a CNA for $9.30 an hour, but that's all you're allowed to make. And so they get no pay. I mean, they get pay, but they get crappy pay, no continuing education, no training, shoddy background checks. Why do that kind of a job? I mean, I wouldn't do that kind of a job for nothing, you know?
Yeah, I noticed that happens. I'm in Pennsylvania, and I noticed that as well. Like a lot of people, they show up, you think they connect with the patients, and then a few days later, they're turnover. Now who's coming in? I don't know. There's no stability.
Right. So, that's why I'm fighting. I want Medicare for all, but I also want universal home and community-based supports that will support not only the person receiving supports, but will also actually support the caregivers as well, tangibly meaningful support us, because we're out here pretty much winging it.
Yeah.
If something happens to Anthony at 4 o'clock in the morning and I have to take him to the emergency room, well, without a caregiver, a care attendant, who do you think has to get up and get in the ambulance and go with him to the emergency room at 3 or 4 o'clock? His dad doesn't live here. His dad lives in Minnesota, and his dad has been pretty much non-existent in his whole life. He's been in and out of prison. He spent a better part of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about better part of 9 years of our son's life in prison. The only assistance that we get from him, and it has to be forced from his paycheck, is child support, which we found out that he still owes about 2 years worth of arrears on. So we're getting child support at least until 2024 still. But that's not very much. And I can't work. If I go to work, we lose everything.
Right.
We're on Section 8, we're on food assistance, we're on medical assistance.
And who's going to take care of Anthony if you
who's going to take
work?
exactly? Who's going to take care of Anthony when I'm at work? Because if something happens, I have to take off work. The last job I had, I worked at a nursing home, and Anthony was always, he was sick a lot when he was younger, ear infections, whole bunch of stuff. And he if I had to take off work, I didn't have anybody. So I lost a lot of jobs because I was having to take off work. And
Right.
I'm the only one that was going to his IEPs. I was the only one that was going to all of his medical appointments. I didn't have anybody to go with me, So we need universal home and community-based supports for people with IDD in this country.
And we also need a federal job guarantee, because you should be paid for what you are doing, and not paid $9.32 an hour. You should be paid what you are doing, even though it's your son and you love him. What you are doing is a full-time job, and that should be recognized.
Get this. Here in Kansas, they call me a natural support. So that's all. Doesn't even matter. They're like, well, you're a natural support, so you don't really, you don't qualify for any kind of money.
So because you're blood related, you mean?
Yeah.
You've got to be kidding me.
Nope. This is Kansas.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So what do you think, national improved Medicare for all would mean to you and Anthony? How do you think that would change your lives?
Well, for me, I would want a national standard of care for caregivers, especially care attendants that are hired through a state. There has to be some kind of a national standard for them in order to keep their jobs. And there also has to be some kind of a national standard of training for care attendants. Currently, to my knowledge, there isn't a national standard of training. There's no training here. I mean, they'll say, well, if you have helped take care of an aunt or an uncle or whatever for any prolonged period of time, or anything like that, then you're good. But aside from that, your background really doesn't get checked too much,
Right.
So we need a universal national standard, home and community based support standard. And I'm hoping, though, in full disclosure, I am running for office here in my state. I'm running for House District 53. So I'm also a candidate speaking tonight. And one of the things that I want to do when I get into office is I want to overhaul the way the home and community-based supports waiver works in this state, because it is not working for people that need it to work for them at all.
Do you think your opponent will debate you?
Oh God, my opponent's he already can't take the heat of being in politics. I can, because I've had to stay involved because of Anthony. He's already messaged me once and emailed me and told me that one of my supporters is being a little heated with him and on his page and whatnot. And I'm like, I can't control my supporters.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and I was talking to somebody the other day. I was like, yeah, I hang with a lot more vocal leftists than her on a daily basis. What is he going to do when one of those start really speaking their mind?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to run a clean race, because the last two races that I ran a clean race, and I made friends along the way, and that's my style. I'm not going to attack opponents unless they really give me a reason to. But I'm staying in my lane right now and doing my race, doing my thing. Just like tonight, I just came home from a pro-choice rally down by the State House, and there's going to be a march, and the people that are organizing the march, they want me front and center carrying a banner, marching down the one of the main thoroughfares close by in my district. And I'm making waves. We've got a pro-choice, or we've got a value them both amendment coming up on our ballot on August 2nd here in Kansas. And it's going to get dicey in July, because I've already seen where the divisions are in this city on this amendment. And it's a crazy time in Kansas. And then John Cornyn from Texas pops off at the mouth the other day and says, well, how about we go after Brown versus Board of Education next? If they go after Brown versus Board of Education, I guarantee you there will be blood in the streets here in Topeka, Kansas, because this is where Brown v. Board was decided. And, the hoods are off. And
yeah.
I sorry for interrupting, guys. I just wanted to Joe was booked for 10 minutes and you guys have been speaking for 20, so we're getting a little bit behind.
I apologize. I'll shut up.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I lost track of time. This is so important. Thank you so much, Joe. I've kind of given up on electoral politics, but you are one person I would support in a heartbeat.
I'm going to need all the support I can get, y'all. So
just real quickly,
thank you so much. And thank you for all you do for Anthony.
We've had about $80 in donations in the last 15 minutes from both states of Oregon and California.
Awesome. Go Oregon and California. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Take care. So before we go to the next guest, and I see chats popping up, you guys, I literally cannot see any of them. So it's not doing me any good. So in any case, before we get to the next guest, I just want to go over, you can see the graphic next to me. I just want to say a few things. We are a 100% volunteer group. We never take a penny. We've never made a penny. This is what we do on our own time, and it actually costs us money. All of us put, the Airbnb and the planes and bus and all that stuff on credit cards. And we're not even asking for reimbursement of anything for us. These things we're asking for are so bare bones. And anyone who's ever organized an event, I mean, shout out to one of our core members, Lauren. These prices, she literally must have emailed at least 30 companies for porta pots, at least 30 companies for sound and stage. I mean, this was the cheapest. And you see $2,000 just to get Reverend Annie on the stage. We were told $1,000 if it doesn't have to be ADA. You want her on a non-ADA wheelchair ramp? Really? $2,000 just to rent one. ASL speakers, $1,100. They deserve it. They work really damn hard, and they're freelancers. But these things cost money. The porta pots, that includes six potties. 2 additional potties are handicapped accessible, and 3 hand washing stations. This is not anything we could get around. The nearest bathroom is a bajillion miles away, and we're going to be there for hours, and we're just not going to do that to people. As far as mutual aid, what we are doing is we're actually all going to be there for 5 days in DC. We're doing other actions as well. And the day after the march, so if you're in DC, let us know. We are doing mutual aid. We're going to be making bag lunches for the houseless. We are going to also provide women's sanitary napkins, socks, just you name it. We're going to be helping the people in DC, anyone who needs help. That's what we're going to do. It's not right for any organization ever to do any kind of event and not do at least some mutual aid. It is not okay. So to any other organizers listening, please always include some kind of mutual aid. So that is on there as well. Now, my next guest is, let me see. There he is. That's easier than reading my sheet. And, somebody told me it's your birthday.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much. I'm actually here on location with family for my birthday. They wanted to have me over for my birthday, so I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, that's why my location looks a little bit different right now, but it's so good to be here with you.
Thank you so much. How old are you, dare I ask? Don't be mad.
38.
Oh, okay. You're still younger than me. I'm 43. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And, of course, we've done a lot of shows together, especially when it comes to disability. I know you have had issues with Social Security, just like me. You've had issues with, now you guys are going through it with housing and everything. It's so hard. And I know, you have dialysis 3 times a week, and things like that. And you have Medicaid, but that is all means tested. It's all, you have to reapply every 6 months. It's pure hell. I've worked for medical assistants. So essentially, what would it mean to you to have none of that shit, to not worry about that shit, to literally just be able to walk into a doctor and get what you need and say peace out and you're done?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, unfortunately, it is means tested. And the thing is, as far as I'm concerned, I've been on dialysis for 15 years now. I have experienced the ins and outs of our healthcare system. It's really not a healthcare system. It's more of a sick care system. It's really just to keep people stable enough so that they can go back to work and continue to work for pennies on the dollar for their oppressor. So with that being said, I have Medicare, right?
Oh, I see.
And people who don't, I have both Medicare and Medicaid. But the thing is that what people don't understand is a lot of times people will go, well, Medicare for all, that means that, you're still just going to have the same old broken system of Medicare. And number one, Medicare is actually one of the most popular health insurances in the nation. Number two, Medicare, a single payer healthcare system would be a comprehensive healthcare system that includes things like dental, vision, long-term care, and hearing. So you would have all that included into it. And number three, it would actually make programs like Medicaid obsolete, because therefore everyone will be on it. And it will be comprehensive because Medicare only pays up to 80% of your bills, which means that you leave the other 20% either out of pocket expenses, or the other 20% has to go through a secondary insurance. So a comprehensive single payer healthcare system would actually make it so that it's 100% paid. And also, according to prescription coverage. So your prescription drugs will be covered, at a max of $200 per year. So that in itself would be a major boom to people like myself, to people like you who are going through this. Also, I need to have a kidney transplant. That will also cover kidney transplants as well. And, and I've been very vocal about this, for me, Medicare for all or a single payer healthcare system is in the right direction. I would rather go even further than to have a nationalized healthcare system. But at the same time, I can't always have what I want. But at the same time, even though it's my birthday, I want a nationalized healthcare system. Come on, people, make a wish. It's a starry night. But yeah, cross your fingers, cross your toes, cross your eyes, cross your ears, cross some of your hairs. But the thing is that, a lot of things that, that would be a benefit to us they have to be part of our list of demands. And as you're organizing this event to take place, one of the things I think that people need to realize is that just having the feet in the streets is not enough. You also have to have a list of demands, concrete demands, and do not waver until those demands are met so that you can get what you need as far as your material conditions are concerned. So that's one of the things that I am a big proponent of. And also, also making sure that we cancel medical debt. Because the thing is, a lot of people talk about student loan debt, which is also very important, but we also need to talk about medical debt as well. So, so I'm a big proponent of, having healthcare for everybody, from the people who have no monetary income at all to the people who have the most. Everyone, their lives all matter just the same. So that's why I'm in support of this.
You disagree with them on things, though?
I'm sorry? No, I'm sorry. I didn't hear exactly what you said.
Oh, I said, even if you disagree with them on things,
here's the thing. Here's the thing: when it comes to people who disagree with you, I don't care. I don't care if you disagree with me. I don't even care if you hate my guts. Because the thing is that it's the policy for you as well as the policy for me. You have to treat healthcare just like you view those of us who are free speech absolutists. You have to care the same way as for free speech. You also have to, for the people who have, things that you don't agree with, you also fight for their free speech as well. People who I don't agree with, I also want you to have healthcare too. And then I will clown on your ass after your health is brought up to par, brought up to optimal health. Because then I got some words for you. But the thing is that it's about being loving humanity. And if you don't love humanity, then what the hell are you doing?
Exactly. So, absolutely. And Andy, could you bring up that picture, that graphic I made of us with Roe and us and me holding up my medical bills? On the topic of medical debt cancellation, we actually just met with another congressperson yesterday, Rashida Tlaib. But this was like a month and a half ago. Congressman Ro Khanna asked us to go to D.C. to meet with him. And I brought $15,000 of my medical debt from the past 2 years. And I have insurance. And we talked to Ro for over an hour. I was savage joy. There were no hugs. There were, it wasn't like that. And because when you hold people accountable, that's how things can happen. So by the time we left, we got a text and email about a week later that Roe had reached out to Bernie and they are drafting a medical debt cancellation bill because of our meeting. So accountability, people think going on Twitter and saying F you is accountability. No, it feels good to say that to politicians. It feels good, but it's not accountability. Go there, tell them, look, this is what you're doing to me. Change. You said you weren't going to do this. You're doing this. So now that's in the works, and that could help millions of people, and at the very least, get people talking about it. Hopefully. But yes, do you, I know you have Medicare and Medicaid. Do you personally have any medical debt?
Oh, joy.
Why did I ask that? That was a stupid ass question.
No. Like they say in Game of Thrones, oh, my sweet summer child. Oh man, you want to talk about medical debt? If you saw medical debt in a dictionary, you would see my face right next to the picture. Yes, I definitely do have medical debt, and I get the phone calls and I get the bill collectors on a daily basis calling to ask me for money that I do not have. Yeah,
and that's a good point, because people need to realize, like, back in the day, there was a thing where people used to be like, hey, you can pay $5 a month. That's all you need to do. And then they can't credit report you in XYZ. That's not like that anymore. You have to pay in full, or they will credit report you, and they will, have collections after you. And for you to qualify for any kind of charity care, good luck. They count our Social Security disability as income. I was just turned down. I mean, it's near impossible to. You literally have to be. I'm going to steal a quote I saw someone say online. It's expensive to be poor. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, at the same time, with a single payer healthcare system, you literally would be lifting people, not lifting people out of poverty per se, but you would be at least giving them some type of relief financially. So that's one of the reasons why I'm for it. But I just want to thank you for having me on to be able to talk about this, and I appreciate, the work that you're doing, because this is deeply important. And people who need this, the people who, I'm gonna be real, people who have larger channels that you reached out to, they absolutely need to also take a part of this. The ones who you don't see right now, yeah, if you guys have a Twitter, tag them and reach out to them and say, well, are you guys going to be there for the Medicare for All March? Many of them also live in DC, and they should be out there, because the thing is that they're proponents of Medicare for All. Then put your money where your mouth is and come out there. I'm talking about the people, I'm not going to name any names, but you know exactly who I'm talking about. A lot of you who have 300, 400, 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, make sure that you also come out there to be able to give your support. So I'm just saying that, and I'm going to leave with that, because the thing is that you have a lot of people who talk about that, what they're for, but are they really willing to put their money where their mouth is when it comes to actually supporting it? I was at the Medicare for All marches last year, even though some people were, very quick to condemn it because it wasn't going the right way. So the thing is that put your money where your mouth is, and let's see you out there. I would gladly love to see you on the stream out there. So.
Oh, hell yeah.
Thanks, Joy.
Well, thank you so much, JB. I love you to pieces, and happy birthday.
Thank you so much. I love you, everybody.
Yay. Oh my God, I'm totally losing track of time. Why did I think I could do freaking 10-minute increments? Who do we have next? There he is. I bet we have Rob next. I bet we do. I think
What's
you're
up,
muted,
Joey?
hon.
Am I? Let me see.
Oh, no, now you're not. Have you been watching?
yeah.
What do you think so far?
I'm enjoying it. It's great, as usual. I've been watching for at least 20 minutes now. But yeah, thank you for having me so much. This is super important. I'll keep my time relatively short to get you back on track.
We always end up fucking around way too long. Me and you and apparently other people. But here's a lot of people don't know this. Rob is a doctor. Am I allowed to say that? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not an MD. I'm not an MD. I am a doctor of chiropractic, and I have a biomedical sciences degree.
So, I mean, you, given that, and I mean, you're a dad. So, I mean, you have those expenses of healthcare as well. So, between you, your wife, and your daughter, you know what it's like to have medical bills. So, what do you think as a family it would mean if you all of a sudden did not have to worry about any kind of, anything coming up and fearing medical debt coming from that?
It would be fantastic. And believe me, most doctors, they make a decent amount of money and they still can't afford these medical bills. I mean, some of the medical bills you get are astronomical, even for, people that are in professions that make a, decent amount of money. So it would help everybody, including people like me. And I don't make a ton of money, but I live comfortably enough. But if for instance, my wife is pregnant right now, we're expecting in the next couple of months, and I'm dreading those bills. It's going to be nasty, but we're going to figure it out. But it would be so nice to not have to worry about it. These types of things, it's the type of thing that drives you crazy with anxiety, and it really shouldn't. I mean, in every other country, this is not a problem. You have, in this country, there's diseases of despair are off the charts because of things like medical debt, student loan debt. These things should not exist, and in fact do not exist in other countries. We can do better. The reason that we don't do better is because Big Pharma makes a ton of money off of the scam that they have going on in this country, and they donate tons of money to people like Joe Biden. And in fact, that's his biggest, I believe Big Pharma donates more than any other lobbying group by a long shot to Joe Biden. So that's why you won't get Joe Biden doing something like, for instance, an executive order. Like he helped get Obamacare in there. Remember that? He says it's so good. The ACA is so great, right? There's a provision in the ACA. Yeah. It's Section 1881 Alpha of the Social Security Act. You can give Medicare for all for everybody if there is a contagion or an environmental hazard like a pandemic. And did he do that? No, he didn't. And I'm going to give my stump speech real quickly here. I know you didn't ask me about this, but I wanted to put this number out there. One of my, one of my comrades, Dontel, you know him as Unapologetic, wrote a wonderful Substack article in April of last year that I covered on my show. It showed that he went back to Open Secrets and counted up that the squad members and Bernie Sanders since 2018 have gotten $272 million worth of donations to them. And then they didn't go out and do anything such as forcing a vote on Medicare for all. They haven't done anything on it. So what I'm going to ask the people that are watching this right now is imagine what we could do with mutual aid and direct action with $250 million. You tell me what you think the best investment is. Do you want to give it to the AOCs and the Bernies of the world who aren't doing anything right now to actually get Joe Biden to give us Medicare for all via executive order? Or do you think that money might, go a long way to helping direct action events like this and public pressure campaigns to actually get these things done? I think it's that second thing. And I agree with Chris Hedges when he says that you're never going to get enough good people into Congress to get these things done. The best chance you have of getting anything done is by scaring the living hell out of the people that are already in there. And the best way to do that is by rallying the masses and doing public pressure campaigns. So my opinion is that we need to give, if we're going to give $270 million to people organizing, it should not be politicians. It should be activists and people that are doing things like you're doing, Joy. So I will leave it at that. That's a great article. Go check out Dontel's Unapologetic Substack. He goes into detail, but in my opinion, that's a lot of money that they basically just took from poor people and didn't do anything. I would much rather those poor people, if they're going to donate to something, donate your time to an event like this, or donate your money to it, or both. And we could get a lot done. That's a lot of money. And we can do it. But it's a fool's errand to think that things are going to change by just simply giving another $250 million to these people that aren't doing anything, even though they could via Tea Party tactics right now. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for having me, Joy. I love you so much.
You, Rob. Love you.
Yeah, you keep doing what you're doing, all right?
Okay. Much love. Yeah, Rob's my buddy.
Got a quick update for you, Joy. I know we're a little bit behind time, but I'll keep it brief. We got a donation for $20 from Ohio. We also got a donation of $35 from Kentucky, $50 in donations from Michigan, and $50 in donations from Massachusetts. That's where we stand right now.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. This is so much fun, and it's so this gives me feels. This is the, when you spend so much time organizing things and then you see them come together, and these discussions are just so important. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for donating. Let me see who's up. Oh my God, I didn't recognize you. I totally didn't recognize you. I think you're muted.
Am I off now? Can you hear me?
Oh my God, I did not recognize you. I've never seen your hair like that.
Yeah, I cut it a bit.
So this is my buddy, Mr. Cepeda. Do you want to introduce yourself? Everybody probably knows who you are, but just in case.
Thank you. I wouldn't assume they do. Yeah, my name's Elias. I'm a writer and journalist. Really glad to be on here to do my little part for this fundraising for this really good weekend, an important weekend of actions.
Absolutely. You've always been a supporter of mine and ours, which is amazing. So I want to ask you, as a person of color, what, you see the way that even immigrants cannot get healthcare right now because they have to provide, certain kind of documentation, even for Medicaid. I worked in medical assistance. If you don't show, proof of citizenship and things, you will not get that health care. Whereas National Improved Medicare for All would absolutely give it to everyone, even the undocumented. So I know you've written many articles about the undocumented. What is your take on that?
Yeah, everyone has been doing a really good job of talking about the really decrepit situation and the desperate situation tens and tens and tens of millions of people here in this country are in, specifically because of the lack of health care. Now, sometimes that lack of health care is due to a lack of insurance, like 30 million who just don't have it outright. Sometimes the lack of health care is due to just being underinsured, having these really awful plans that still effectively preclude actually getting medical care because one can't afford it. All of these truly existential problems, including medical debt, are experienced by and felt by disproportionately people of color, including Latin people. Speaking broadly, I think it's like people of color that are non-elderly but non-elderly adults. They make up over 50% of the uninsured population in the U.S., despite just being a little bit over 40% of the overall population. Latin people are the single most uninsured population demographic in the United States. And you talked about undocumented people, and I'm really glad you brought that up. Right now, I mean, millions of, definitely over 10 million undocumented Americans who, of course, like many others, make this country run by growing and picking and delivering our food, tending to our stores, taking care of our children, who also pay higher amounts of taxes per capita than the general population. They also have lower rates of criminality than the general population. They do all this without basic protections and benefits that they've earned, including, of course, healthcare, and that includes not being able, like you said, Joy, to get Medicaid benefits. Undocumented people, no matter how poor they might be or how much they pay in taxes, are currently ineligible for Medicaid health care or even subsidies to buy their own private plans from these marketplaces. And Medicare for all, at least as it's been proposed by people like Senator Bernie Sanders, would expand healthcare to all Americans, including undocumented Americans, in addition to expanding healthcare to many other groups and providing much better quality of care for most people that wouldn't be subject to sabotage by employers and the risk of getting fired because it wouldn't be tied to healthcare. I mean, it wouldn't be tied to employment.
Right. And one of the things we are seeing right now, obviously, is a huge uprising of unions. Yay, that is so good. But when you break it down, one of the main reasons people are fighting to unionize is because of the lack of health care or the unsubstantial health care. There was a gentleman in a video in Boston who worked at Trader Joe's, and he's worked there for like 8 years, and he got cancer, and because he had to cut back hours, they took away his health insurance, so he couldn't get his treatments. These kind of things happen all the time. So while we're supporting unions, we need to realize it's not just about pay. Basically tangible things in the workplace and what have you. It is also very much about the lack of healthcare and benefits. Have you found that as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know there is some unions have like not supported Medicare for all expansion, whereas other unions and union leaders like Sarah Nelson, the flight attendants union, have pointed out that there is not only broad support among union rank and file, but actually that she herself supports such expansions as well. It's a real, in my view, it's a real short-sighted view for union leaders to say, oh, we don't, we can't provide everyone with health care because then there's no value to our union. That just tells me that they're not fighting very hard for their union members, or not very effectively. And obviously I have no place to judge it, but I'm going to anyway. With everyone having access to some halfway decent health care, which is what Medicare for all would, in some incarnations, again, like Senator Sanders has framed out, would be far from perfect, but it would be a gigantic improvement over what we have now. With that off the table, with employers not being able to use that as a wedge or a bludgeon or a threat, then unions can go ahead and really fight for a whole host of other things. They can think bigger. They can do more than just fight for bare scraps. They can improve conditions. They can, fight for, improved hours or control over scheduling. They can do all sorts of things. Having a decent baseline of existence for everyone won't threaten actual good union work. And unions have a lot to offer, even once all Americans, documented and undocumented, get health care. In my view, there's so many other things that they abuse. And, union members, again, are not protected uniformly by their union membership from being denied health care, because you can get sick and go part-time, you can lose your job, you can, a whole host of things can befall a union worker that would still effectively preclude them from having health insurance. And this would help union members also, I believe, have the boldness to strike when they need to strike and picket, because it's one less expense that they'd have to worry about if they have to lose their wages to fight for, or temporarily to fight for better benefits.
Absolutely. I totally agree. That's a great point. And when you think about especially private businesses like entrepreneurs and stuff, the amount it costs them to insure their employees, I mean, that's gone. So now when you ask for a raise, they can't say, we don't have the money, we pay your benefits. No, you don't.
That's right. And I run a small business and organization, and this would be wonderful to have, for people that work for us, and help out with the kids and things we do in the community, as well as our adult programs. We have a martial arts and education center here in inner city of Chicago. If we didn't, I could offer people, we're very, very small. I could get closer to offering more people full-time work if I knew that they didn't have to pay for insurance. In fact, I won't name names, but like we have multiple people that work for us that would quit their job if they didn't have to worry about health insurance costs or have to buy it on their own, and would go full time into working for the community. So this would be a big help for truly small enterprises like ours.
Absolutely. Well, these 10-minute interviews are really killing me, but we do shows all the time, and we will continue. Hopefully, I'll see you at DC. I hope so.
I really hope so. I'm going to do it. I'm going to see if I can make it happen. I really appreciate just even consider me. I'd love to be there. So I'm going to try to make it happen. I will keep you posted, and I really appreciate you all letting me be a part of tonight.
Absolutely. Love you, brother. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
So,
guess what? We just got another announcement of another $1,000 donation from the state of Wisconsin. Hello.
What? Wait, what? What do you mean?
$1,000 donation from the state of Wisconsin.
I'm so confused. I was so confused. I thought he meant literally the state. Like, okay, I had a drink before this. Okay. Whoever sent that in Wisconsin, don't make me cry. That is so incredible. Oh my God, you guys. This is amazing. Thank you so much to everyone who is chipping in. Oh, right. Now we have Savvy. How are you? Thank you for joining.
Hello.
So I don't know how much you've seen or what this 10-minute it's not working for me. I keep going over. But I wanted to talk to you first. I haven't gotten to talk to anyone about it yet. Of course, women are on that attack right now. And women's healthcare is healthcare. Women's health is a human right, as is healthcare is a human right. So, what I know it's a vague question, but what are you feeling right now as a woman? Like, as you see women's health being just, basically overcome by a bunch of old dudes.
It makes me feel very unsafe in this country. It really does. And I was telling people this last week, abortion is healthcare. Like, this is a part of our healthcare. And so I think that when you think about who's really going to be affected, women that don't have health insurance, women that have inadequate health insurance, women who are poor, women who are working class, they're the ones that are going to be affected by this the most, because they don't have the resources and they don't have the money to travel to places where they can have an abortion. So that's how I've been framing this to people, to get people to understand, because a lot of times people are like, oh, well, life starts at such and such weeks. And I'm like, I don't want you to think of it that way. I want you to think of this as a healthcare issue, and it could happen to anyone. And I think that, I will say I am really proud of a lot of the men that I've seen that have come out in support for women's health, especially at the protest as well. We really do need that solidarity with men as well, not just women. But it really makes me feel unsafe in this country. And then I know that Clarence Thomas is now talking about he wants to look at contraception next. He wants to look at gay marriage next. So this can affect a lot of people. It's not just women.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. Wow. I know when I was I've had her read on a few times, and we were talking about, the inequities and healthcare and everything. And did you know certain things like one of the reasons women do choose abortion is because of sexual assault. Of course, we all know this. But did you know that sometimes women go to the hospitals to get rape kits done and they have to pay for the hospital stay?
Yep.
Oh my God. Like
and then there's over 200,000 police stations in the country that have rape kits that just sit there, that haven't even been investigated. So it's just, I don't think people really understand, some of the excuses I hear from people that, well, you should get a good job that offers like good health insurance, define good health insurance. Right. So, I mean, it's a struggle that all of us are going to have to deal with. It may not be, if you're a guy, it may not be, you obviously that has to get an abortion, but it could be your sister. It could be your friend, someone who has to like take that step. And I would point to Laura Ashcroft, and she mentioned this recently. She talked about her story on Twitter about how for her, it was a medical need why she had to get that done. And so I commend her for coming forward with that story, because it's a personal story. But at the same time, not everyone that's getting an abortion is getting one because they just don't want to have a child. Sometimes there's a medical need to get one.
Right. And yeah, absolutely medical. And also, the thing people have to realize is this shit is not going to stop abortion. It is going to make it incredibly unsafe. People are going to die because they're not going to have the access to it. Now we're facing it going state by state, and we know blue states, so-called, are going to be cool with it, and then people in the South are not, and these women, like you say, I was seeing posts on Twitter that women saying, should we set up a GoFundMe for women who are going to be needing to go to different states? I mean, it's terrifying. It's absolutely just, I think if anything, I think it solidifies the fact that we need to do Medicare for all nationally, because we're about to see what can happen with when it comes to healthcare pieces being, only in certain areas. And also, as a woman of color, I know we see so many studies and articles where women of color are always given the worst care, always, especially in hospitals. They have the most child deaths in hospitals, things like that. So even as a woman of color, how, from the woman of color standpoint and seeing this being taken away from women, how does that make you feel from that angle?
Well, as a Black woman, it's really concerning. I remember hearing Serena Williams' story, as well as Tatiana Ali was at the protest, and Chuck Modi interviewed her. I didn't realize that she had, medical issues that were neglected as well, not by her, but by the system. So we heard these stories before about people who were even celebrities, Black women who were celebrities, that were ignored by their doctors when they told them that they had pain. So I look at someone like Serena Williams, she almost died, giving like childbirth because they ignored her pain. And that's someone who's rich. That's someone who's a celebrity. So imagine how the treatment is for someone who's poor. Serena Williams may have the resources to get a second opinion, whereas someone who is poor or working class, they may not have those resources to go get a second opinion. So I always like to tell people this is a class issue. And I think that's why a lot of times, like the billionaires, like they don't want us to have Medicare for all. They don't need it. It's not something that they need. So they just want to make as much money off of big pharma as they can. And I think that's a big part of the problem. And also back to the abortion issue and billionaires, Bill Gates has been complaining about the fact that we have a low birth rate in the United States right now. He's happy about the fact that the birth rate is declining. And I'm like, well, why would Bill Gates have a problem with that? He's a billionaire. And again, they want us to reproduce because they want people to do the labor. So I want people to look at this from a capitalism perspective, because that's what this is really about. They realize Gen Z and some of the people from my generation, millennials, aren't having kids. And that's not good for labor. So there's some things that they can automate, but for some things you still need people to do the work. So they're thinking about the outcomes down the road.
Absolutely. I can't. Oh, they just took the comment down. It was Kami John. Couldn't see what it said, but I can't read what that says.
National health system fully federally funded. We can do it today. We just need to aggressively convince Congress.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you heard earlier, but me, Ricky, and Logan, who met with Ro, we met with Rashida yesterday. So we're holding feet to the fire. We're trying so hard. Accountability. We're trying. But yes, I mean, we are in this moment that it is just so terrifying. So we're doing a march, we're doing a rally, but we're also doing some disruption, protest, and other things for 5 days in DC. Worst case scenario, Friday. How do you think we should proceed? Do you think we should get in the streets? Do you think call Congress? Like, what do you think is the best course of action?
I think we should get in the streets. If you have the opportunity to talk to your congressperson, definitely talk to them about it. I know here in Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren, Ayanna Pressley, they do have meetings that are open to the public. Sometimes you may have to register for them if it's a limited amount of space, but they do have those meetings. And I think that's a good time for you, if you can do so, go to those meetings and ask them to push Medicare for all. You have to really hold their feet to the fire. You have to put them, I hate to say put them on blast, but you have to put them on notice. Like when there is a crowd.
On blast.
Yeah.
Put them on blast.
Put them on blast, like when there's a crowd of people around, because listen, I can't speak for all the other, congressmen, but Ayanna Pressley, she was in my district. So I voted for her the first time she ran, and she ran on Medicare for all. So I feel like that's something we should be asking them those questions. Like you talked to Rashida Tlaib, you should be asking her about that. She ran on it. So we have to really push them. Now, obviously there's going to be people that are just going to shoot it down, right? Like you're going to have people like your cinemas and your mansions that are going to shoot it down. But again, like, we have to hold them accountable. And I think they are just, some of them are in these districts where they're just so used to just having people just continue to vote for them, and they just know they're going to get reelected. I think we have to wake some of them up the same way that, you know, AOC woke up Crowley, the same way Jamal Bowman woke up Elliot Engel, although I can argue about AOC and Jamal Bowman today with their performances. But I think you have to let those politicians know that they're not guaranteed to get your vote. And I think that's what it needs to come down to.
Vote blue, no matter who's saying that, is one of the most dangerous things you could ever say. Because why would they change? Why? For what? No, we need to tell them, look, I'm not guaranteeing your vote regardless, but you may have a chance if you do this. Like Rose, you know, I was sitting in Rose's office and he said straight up, would you vote for Biden if he ran again? I said, no. Like, I'm not going to lie. No, I would not. And I didn't before. That's how we have to be. We have to be candid. We have to be honest. Like, we don't owe them anything, period. So,
Right. They haven't done anything. They haven't really done anything for us. I mean, there's a number of things that could have been done by executive order. And Joe Biden said if the Medicare for All bill came across his desk, he would veto it. So why should we give him our vote? And I think we just need to keep coming across with that message. But no, I do think we need to have a massive protest. We need to get more people in the streets. We have to shake things up because Democrats pretty much know they're going to lose in the midterms. That's why they're banking on this whole Roe v. Wade decision to put them over. But I think 2024 is really going to be the wake up call. And so what I'm asking people to do is just stop. Like, stop supporting them, stop donating money to them, donate your money to an abortion fund. There are some of those going around. I'm trying to get something going with Zeneb, and I'm not sure if Bank Sister said they would do this too, but Zeneb, I know Delilah said she's interested. She's in Texas. Her state is no longer safe. Zeneb's state is no longer safe, to get something going for those women who will need to travel outside of those states.
Absolutely. Well, that's an awesome idea. And I thank you for doing that. Thank you so much for joining us. It was awesome. And thank you for helping us promote this fundraiser. We're getting there, thankfully. So thank you, Sabby. Appreciate it.
Alrighty. Bye.
Take care. So I don't know when. Oh, I got the Banks girls next.
Hello.
Oh my God, you look so darn cute.
Oh Lord. Well, I'm here in a remote location, undisclosed. Court and I are separate.
I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm like, what? Why are you doing this to me? Like, you are fooling with a blind girl. Like, I'm expecting one screen, two people.
I know. I'm so sorry. I do.
Easier to tell us apart this way. Congratulations on your donation so far, Joy.
Oh, thank you. This is amazing. Like, I kind of forgot about the donations part because I was just like so nervous to have like so many great people on. And then Andy comes in and he's like, okay. And I'm like, what? But this is so important. I mean, you guys organize. You guys are on the ground. You do the damn thing as well. So you know this shit is not cheap. You guys are doing
Yeah, as you know, I mean, we've had many discussions, but I like lost my mind the other day because somebody called us grifters. It's like, we're on Medicaid, we share a 15-year-old Jeep, we move back in with our parents, and we're organizing a camping trip for leftists to go camping. So if that's a grift, and people calling
we're not making enough grifting money.
Right, and people calling you a grifter when we still need healthcare, and for people to not understand how somebody has to be leading this fight. Somebody has to be there willing to organize. Most of the time, you're doing this thankless job. You're putting in your money, as you said. And, you know, it does take money. And I just can't understand why sometimes on the left, we shoot ourselves in the foot with this idea that, you know, it doesn't take this, because we have to, like, we went to the event last year and it truly inspired us. Like, it was amazing. And as Marianne said earlier, you just don't know who's going to be there, even if a few people are, or as in DC, there were tons. It was 55 simultaneous marches, and you inspired us to start doing stuff. So, you know, we thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, You do. I've been called so many times a grifter this past week, and I'm like, do y'all realize I am disabled and work $10 an hour job in a warehouse without air conditioning, trying to put sizes on hangers for clothes that are this big, and have migraines because I can't see, and my back hurts because I'm 43 and I'm standing on my damn feet all day after working a desk job for over a decade. And why am I doing that? 2 reasons: to pay medical bills and to be able to get out to DC and do these actions. So if someone's going to call me a grifter, that really upsets me, because this is what the money is going to, this stuff, to help make it accessible and to help make it so that people can enjoy themselves and have it be, have it be accessible, and, for people to take something from it. This is bare bones. You guys know, you're doing Camp Dada. You're like, this is like literally the littlest. I mean, you look at the dollar amount and you're like, holy shit, what are they raising money for? And it's like, no, that's like, I've organized dozens of events in Pennsylvania, but I've never had to do any of this stuff. Then when you start in DC and stuff, it's like, oh my God, you need like sound equipment and all this stuff. And you're like, wait, renting it is thousands of dollars. What? You get to keep it?
And we have no, it was great that you even mentioned earlier, you were talking early in the stream, you were talking about like porta potties. Like, I mean, people are just like oblivious if they think that running any sort of event doesn't cost money. Like, it's unfortunate, but that's what it costs. Like, I mean, would you rather have to walk, 20 blocks to go to the bathroom? No, you wouldn't. Then no one would want to come to your event. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of really practical stuff that goes into it. And especially like you're saying, if you're doing something in DC, I mean, just like amazing for these people. The people that have donated so far have been great. I'm glad they're seeing the vision.
Yes. So I know both of you have been open that you're on Medicaid. I know, you've also shared some personal medical history, things like that. So now you guys know what it takes to have to reapply every 6 months and prove income and how that means testing works. And I know, I believe it was Courtney who had an incident trying to reapply.
Maybe Keisha's had more incidents.
Okay.
You tell them about your issues.
So many issues. I mean, I was the having to reapply thing. I mean, I got to, when we got to Virginia, I made much less in unemployment than Court did. So, so I was already because Virginia actually changed, I think, the threshold because of the pandemic. So I was already kind of at the threshold, and I was like, okay, fine, I could apply for my Medicaid, but I had Medi-Cal in California. And years and years and years ago, before I even moved to California, I had something in DC because I had a seizure and I lost my job. And so then I had Medicaid in DC as well. And there's no connection between the systems whatsoever. And so then I had to go back. So after I had to go to the emergency room randomly one day because my kidneys are messed up. And then after that, I got this, a couple months later, I got this letter saying like, well, it says that you still have Medi-Cal. Like, is this true? Can you delete it? And it's like, bitch, I went to the doctor in Virginia. So am I not in Virginia? Like, I'm sorry that I didn't inform them that I was leaving, I guess, that I was fleeing because of the pandemic. But it's just the systems don't match up at all. And it baffles me how much more we could be doing as a country, like how much healthier we would all be if we just had some sort of system, a magical system. I don't know if you guys could think of something that would, be connected maybe, and maybe take care of everyone.
Sounds kind of utopian. I don't know.
Yeah, would be cool. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a different experience because I feel like I've been pretty healthy. Definitely both of us would love more mental services, but yes. I think for me, physically, I've been pretty healthy. But I think that people really miss the point, you know, when you're not going through a chronic illness or something like that, because this touches your life in so many different ways. Like, we moved from California, and I'm always thinking about climate change. If you're fleeing from this state because of a fire, or you're fleeing because of a tornado or a flood, you know, you don't have time to wonder if you're going somewhere that's in network for you. Like, we are at the precipice of all of this shit going down. So you can see all the rights they're taking away from us. If we don't have some sort of safety net, they're not going to raise the wages. They're not going to deal with inflation properly. So if we could at least have some sort of healthcare, you know, I mean, look at COVID, for example, like something like 338,000 people's lives could have been saved if we had had Medicare for all. And they don't care. Just like we know that all of these people are uninsured every year and they die and they don't care. So, you know, it's just like, whether you have an issue now, or it's going to be something later, or you take care of someone, or it's climate change, or it's the cost, it affects our lives in so many different ways. And I mean, it would give us the ability to choose our jobs, you know? So,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's on us who are able-bodied, for sure, to get out in the streets, because, you know, we've got to be fighting for some people who sometimes can't be out there in the streets with us. So I love that you're organizing this.
Absolutely. And I have the absolute best team ever. They are so freaking amazing. And I'm the person on the camera, but they are just incredible. And, you know, you guys are so right that this would take, what about climate refugees?
Right.
Okay. So you're talking about, well, let's pass it state by state. That ain't going to work. And we know it's not going to work, especially after what's going to happen Friday. So if we, you know, you take homelessness, people go homeless because they can't pay their medical bills. You talk about, you know, healthcare is related to everything. Like, it's really incredible. So as far as mental health, you guys bring up a great point. Excuse me. Couldn't find the mute button in time. So, you know, mental health, that is suicide highest in our lifetimes, self-harm highest, anxiety highest. This is a, you know, a pandemic in itself as well. Like, this is, you know, the amount of mental health problems going on right now. And then I don't want to get into the gun debate, but people say, oh, because they're mentally unstable, then you better be fighting for Medicare for all.
Yeah, on every level.
Yeah.
On every
level.
level.
Don't complain about people's mental health unless, whether that's accurate or not, everybody fight for it. I don't care. But
yeah, totally. I mean, it's interesting because I think that, you know, people think of mental health as being like a short-term problem almost, or like just like being like a blip or something, or like something you get over. But I mean, for me personally, my mental health struggles have caused me so much pain. I mean, I was at a point where, you know, where I had healthcare through my job. And so because I had healthcare through my job, I was able to get some mental health service. And I was like, oh, maybe I have ADD. Maybe that's what it is. We'll see. And I like took a quiz and did the whole thing and had a psychiatrist. And then I had a nervous breakdown and I lost that job. And it wasn't until like 5 years later or so until I found that little like quiz in an envelope. And I was like, oh, maybe I should look into this again. But then I couldn't because I was bartending. So I wasn't getting health insurance like I was at my corporate job. And so then it took me probably like 10 years until I got another corporate job again, after I had like been through all of that, that I was even able to get like properly diagnosed, you know, like, so, I mean, so I have bipolar 2, which is just means that my episodes are like more stretched out. So it'll be like, you know, 3 years in between episodes as opposed to like every day. And then also ADHD. And it was like, if I think about how different my life would have been if at 25 or 24, 25, I could have been diagnosed instead of at 35. I mean, I've lost jobs, I've lost salaries, you know, I can't help my parents pay for our house. I can't, you know, there's just so many things that I've missed out on literally just because I, you know, couldn't go to a doctor. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's a much bigger, it's just like, I feel like what we're saying is just like, it affects people's lives so much more than just just the tangible things that you can see, you know, and like, oh my God, what Joe was saying earlier about the caregivers is like, we really need to talk about that. That was such a great segment, because that's like something we don't even think about, but that's amazing. Yeah.
We really don't. And it's so, people think disabled and they think about the actual person, but there are so many people around who it's hell, my husband's affected, because every 5 minutes I'm like, I can't plug this in. Can you go get this and stuff like that? And I'm like, bet you didn't know you were gonna marry someone who turned it. He painted my toenails last night for me. Like, that is sweet.
As
She's gonna kill me for saying that, but that was sweet.
Right, caregivers.
Yes, he's a caregiver. So yeah, I mean, these times are just going by too damn fast for me. But thank you guys so much for joining, and thank you for all you do. If you guys don't follow the Bank Sisters, you need to, because they are just incredible. First time I saw them, I was like, yes, like you're both phenomenal, and I love you both.
Thank you so much for having us, Joy. Thank you for doing this.
Doing the Lord's work.
Donate, please do it. Have a good night, you guys. Thank you.
Donating. See you in DC.
Yes. All right. Oh my God, I can't see.
So we got a quick announcement, and this is some very good news, Joy. We got from the Organization of Real Progressives. They have pledged to donate $2,000, and they are challenging every other live streaming platform to either match or exceed that amount. So that's great news from Real Progressives. And we're going to bring Jimmy in directly because we're running so late, and we'll play your video after him. That's okay with you?
Yes. Oh my God, you guys. RP, thank you so much. Oh my God, that's amazing. And yeah, we're all the people who say we need to get in the streets and stuff. We're all y'all. Y'all don't respond to my fucking messages, but okay. Hey, Jimmy, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Joy, how are you doing?
I am good. I do want to give a disclaimer. About 2 hours ago on Twitter, I was called just like Anna Kasparian. I've never been told that before, but I just want to let you know, because now I realize I am somewhat of a doppelganger. So if you want to dip, I'll understand.
Yes. I've always thought that, but I never said anything.
The truth is out.
Why would they call you? I wonder what the comparison
I have no idea. I'm anti-imperialist. That's the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
Like, really?
That's a pretty big difference. So,
oh my.
Well, listen, it's great to be here, and I just wanted to say thanks for all the work you do for the Medicare for All, and this March. I wish I could be there. I'm sorry I have a conflict on business, but I would love to have been there. But I'm sure we'll have to do more, but this is a great step.
I hope so.
And this is important. And it's great the way people are responding. That's amazing. $2,000 pledge. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that they gave me my start. My show's 5 years next month, and Real Progressives gave me my start. So they have a special place in my heart as well. So thank you guys. Yeah, you're in California, so you guys talk about, cow care and all that, the healthcare stuff, but I know you have actually had medical issues in your past, personally. Would you like to share that story?
So what I say is that, I got sick and I went bankrupt because I'm American, and that's the way it works in America. I had something that was hard to diagnose. And so they kept giving me a diagnosis, but it was always wrong. And so I kept getting sicker. And so this went on for a couple of years, and it turns out it was a bone problem, and they didn't know what it was. And then, my bones got all hollowed out, and then my spine started collapsing, and then they started figuring out what it was. I went to, there was a great doctor. His name is Dr. Charles Sharp. He's retired now, but everybody told me you should go see this guy, Dr. Charles Sharp. He's the best. Well, he didn't take insurance, and it costs a lot of money just to walk in the door. And so I just, I decided I'll go to someone who who studied under him or something. And of course, that's not the same thing, and it wasn't. And so finally, when I was just about it was kind of near death, we decided to go see Dr. Sharp, and of course, he figured out what was wrong with me the first visit, and it was amazing. And so he gave me the right treatment, and I started getting better right away. But that took forever. I mean, I was supposed to get more. I had a spine operation. I had a kyphoplasty. I was supposed to get a couple more for I was supposed to get that Bo Jackson surgery. I had dead bone in my thigh, and they said, "Hey, we're going to do this." I'll never forget what the doctor said when I walked in. Dr. Sharp told me, he said, "Nowhere you go, no one will know what this is. No one will know what this is." So I got sent down to the guy who invented the Bo Jackson surgery. And as I walk into his office, he's looking at my chart, and he had an accent real heavy. And he says, "What? I've only seen this in books." And I was like, "Yes, Dr. Sharp said that." So anyway, they were going to give me the surgery, and I was going to be able to step on my leg for 6 months. But I was getting ready to do my first hour special on Comedy Central. And I was like, "I have a special to do. I have to get ready. I have to do it." And he said, "Yeah, but your thigh could snap at any minute." And I'm like, "I guess that's the chance I have to take, because this is my comedy. I'd rather die than not do my comedy set." By the way, I was suicidal. And when I got the call that you're doing an hour special, it kind of gave me a reason to live. So, I wasn't going to not do that. Anyway, I was luckily, my wife owned a house, and we were able to, after I depleted all our money and savings and everything, to take out a second mortgage against our house to pay bills and things like that. And, so that's what kind of makes this issue near and dear to my heart, is that I've experienced it. And it's just crazy that we do. It's just a sign of just how corrupt people don't know how corrupt our government is. And, during Forced to Vote, we got a good look at it. Even the people who run on the things won't do them when push comes to shove. And then they'll actually turn on activists, which is what they do. They'll tell you what they told me. I don't know what they tell you, Savage, but they tell me that I wasn't somehow I wasn't a bona fide activist, right? I guess you have to go to some activist school, even though the person saying that was a bartender 2 years earlier. So I don't know what kind of, so they just do anything to kind of discredit you as soon as you hold their feet to the fire. There is no left in government in America. There aren't any really strong, powerful lefty organizations. And that's why it comes down to people like you doing something like this to raise awareness for Medicare for all. And, I applaud you for it. And here's the thing I get a lot, because we're not going to get this until the left and the right come together to demand this, right? You're not going to get this if it's just a bunch of lefties out there. They can just dismiss you. But if you're lefty and you're centery and you're righty and you're far and you're all those different shades of political stripes, they can't ignore you. It's much harder to dismiss you then, right? And so then it becomes not a partisan issue. And right now it has been a partisan issue. And so we need to I think that's important, that we take that away. We learn to organize along class lines, just like Christian Smalls did in Staten Island with Amazon. I'll never forget, that's the thing that when I asked him, I said, "Now, who did you organize with? There's a lot of Trump voters, because I know what Staten Island is like." And he said, "Of course, I had to organize with I had to earn their trust and had to show them I was going to be there. And we all have a common interest." And so the same thing with Medicare for all. Most Trump voters are for a single payer system or something. But the question I get the most, and the thing that frightens people, is that they feel like government is going to run healthcare then, right? And I have to keep telling them that no, they don't run it per se. I'm still going to go to my doctor. My doctor is still going to prescribe to me what I'm not going to go to a government doctor. I'm not going to all of a sudden go to a government hospital. I'm going to go to the same hospitals with the same doctors. I'm just not going to have to rely on a capitalist being in between me and my doctor. Now we take the profit motive out of it, and we put a government guy who pays the bill but doesn't have a profit motive. And that's, I think, the best we can do. And I think the rest of the Western world doesn't do it the way we do. The rest of the world understands you don't want to put a profit center in between you and your doctor. You don't want to put a capitalist in between you and your caregiver. And so and we can do this, and it would save money. That's the whole thing. Of course, it would save money. So, but the only way, the gears are so broken, as Chris Hedges points out, in American government, because capitalists have so corrupted it. The politicians are so bought that the levers have seized up, and they no longer can work in favor of people. It only works if there's a profit for a corporation or a billionaire to be made, and then that gets done. That's why they're able to give $54 billion like that to Ukraine, whereas $54 billion would fix homelessness twice over in this country, but they don't do it. Right, because there's a profit. Why? Who's that profit? That profits Wall Street when they give the money to Ukraine, and it profits the military-industrial complex. Right. So we're going up against profit centers. We're going up against real power centers, which is Wall Street, big pharma, and healthcare, health insurance companies. So those are the real power centers. Those are the capitalist money centers, and so that's why you're going to get a lot of pushback. People are going to. People who pretend to be on the left, right? It's good that you do things like this, because it does expose people who are there to infiltrate or pretend and try to tamp down what you're doing. But I think it's great. I think people know, left, right, and center, that the way we do healthcare is crazy. And anybody who thinks that they like their health insurance company or their health insurance, it's because they haven't been sick. And as soon as you get seriously sick or ill or have to take care of somebody who is, you don't like your health insurance company. People who like their health insurance companies are relatively healthy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so from what you're saying, is it true that you mean all means all, and you want to have it for even people you don't like?
So that's the weird thing, right? So when we did those Medicare for All marches last summer, people were saying, oh, there's right wingers on stage with you. Yeah, it's called Medicare for All. That means everybody. That doesn't mean just Medicare for the people I like, or Medicare for Democrats, or Medicare for progressives. That means Medicare for everyone, even prisoners. Everybody gets health care. It's a right, right? That's how we look at it. So yeah. And the way you organize for it is you organize with everyone, because it's for everyone. And if there's someone who is afraid of Medicare for All, you use your arguments of persuasion to convince them. And that's what I've been trying to do. And that's the biggest hesitancy people have, is because they saw how the government can mandate you to take a medical treatment. And that scared the hell out of them. And rightly so, because that, in my opinion, was ridiculous. So, especially when we knew that people were going to be injured by it. I was injured by the vaccine, and now I don't have anybody to sue, because they passed a law that takes away my right to do that to the people who are making hundreds of billions of dollars off this. So I think if we had Medicare for All, it would make people less hesitant about everything, because they would actually think the government's actually trying to help them, because the government actually would be then, as opposed to now, which is what they're doing, is using them as a profit center for private industry.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, with that, I do want to give the bad news to everyone watching, that there will not be any kind of board of elections that will give you the opportunity to say, no, you're not getting it. No, you're not getting it. Nobody has that power. Nobody's that God. So I'm sorry. Everybody would get it. Everybody, whether even Jimmy and his fans, even them. Do you really support it for all? Do you? I hope you do, because that is healthcare justice. And the thing, and you probably experienced this as well, but at our 56 events last July, what did we talk to anyone else about, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? What party are you registered under? It was literally healthcare.
Yes.
We had that solidarity. It was true solidarity. We are hundreds or thousands of people who have come together for that common cause of what we want to change. And that is fucking beautiful. And that threatens people. That is power.
That is exactly right, Joy. That is the one thing that scares them. They like to keep us divided, which is you see the countries at the most divided they've ever been. And why does the elite need us to be this way? Why do they need us to be this divided? Why do they have to have us blame our neighbor for our economic pain or our lack of health care or whatever it is? Why do they want us to do? Because they're so, like I said, the government, the levers of government are so seized up. They can't give us anything anymore. They can't give us health care. They can't give us a living wage. They can't give us housing. They can't help the homeless. They can't do anything. They're jacking up Medicare right now for old people, and they're coming for your Social Security because Joe Biden just appointed somebody that's going to come for your Social Security. So that's the government is only going one way right now, and it's against us, and it's for corporations. And so that's what scares them, is that if we stop fighting each other, if we stop hating our neighbor, we realize that we have a common interest and we work together for that common interest. That's what scares the hell out of those people. And that's why they got to try to discredit you and discredit whenever you work across the aisle with someone, or someone who's not of your political persuasion, or someone they want to demonize. Hey, my mother-in-law voted for Trump. She still needs health care. That I'm not going to hate my mother-in-law, right? And she's, by the way, 100% Mexican. So again, we got to get back to this idea why the people were so desperate to vote for a clown like Donald Trump was because the people like the Democrats, like Barack Obama, did 8 years and everyone's life got worse. And guess who's didn't? Wall Street, the military-industrial complex, big pharma, and health insurance. That's whose lives got better as everyone else's life got worse. And so, we voted for Barack Obama because he said he was going to give us health care, but we could have voted for Mitt Romney. We would have got the same goddamn health care plan. It's Mitt Romney's health care plan. Barack Obama ruled as it says D next to his name. He governed as a Republican, and that's not me saying that. That's Barack Obama admitting it. He admitted he was giving an interview to Venezuelan television, and he said, if you look at my policies, they would be considered moderate Republican if this was the 1980s. That's Barack Obama's voice, all right? So we got to get rid of left-right labels. We got to start organizing around issues, and that's exactly right. When we went out to those marches and we were for Medicare for all, that's all we talked about was Medicare for all. It wasn't about, hey, I don't like guns, or I don't want about transsexuals, or about LGBTQ rights. It was just about, it wasn't about the wars. It wasn't about minimum wage. It wasn't about infrastructure. It wasn't about home. It was just about Medicare for all. And that's what everybody was there on board for. And that's what scares them. And, when I gave my speech, it was literally right out in front of CNN on Sunset Boulevard. And guess who didn't cover it? CNN. There were a crowd of people out in front. We had the street blocked off. People were screaming on loudspeakers and crowds were cheering. And CNN didn't even acknowledge it, because that's what scares them.
Absolutely. And all I'm going to say is there's a big media center in DC, and we'll be there for 5 days. So that's all I'm going to say. There's some MSM there. Okay. So what do you think, at this point, we get, what's the point of marching? What's the point of, doing, what do you think it's going to take? Really take? And are we going to be able to do it?
It's going to take many people like you, many marches like this, to make people realize that we can get something done if we come together. Make people realize that, other people think like me. Remember what Chomsky taught us is that the establishment media, the corporate media, is there to make, if you have thoughts like you have or thoughts like I have, the media is there to make you feel isolated, like no one else thinks like you. And so that's what things like this breaks that illusion, and it makes you realize that there's lots of people like you and me all over and that think alike. And that's what I get more than anything. I travel all over this country all the time, meeting people, doing comedy all the time, and the number one thing people say to me is that you made me feel sane, meaning they thought they were the only one thinking like this. They thought they were crazy because the way they think, the way we think, is never reflected back in the corporate media. And so when they saw me, then they realized, there's lots of people who think like me. This isn't crazy to think like that. And so that's what it's important to keep doing marches like this. It's important to keep talking about it, and it's important to keep reaching across class lines. And it's important to organize with people who don't think like you politically, but think like you on this issue. That's what's going to get this done. That's what's always gotten it done.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome. And thank you for your support last year and this year. You've always been an ally to M for M for All. And thank you so much for supporting our fundraiser and joining us.
It's the least I could do. My pleasure. I wish I could be there with you. I'm sure I'll be with you on another one soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jimmy. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Hi there. How are you?
I don't know.
Are you ready for another announcement?
Oh my God. I can't help it, you guys. I took Ativan and I'm like, I'm still like, ugh.
Well, we have another $1,000 donation. And this time it's from a lovely person named Elizabeth from Washington State, who clearly wanted us to know that she wholeheartedly supports national improved Medicare for all.
Yes. Thank you, Elizabeth.
And now we did skip your video, but I think we should see it now. Do you want to set it up, Joy?
Yeah. So myself and Pat Cody, Pat the Burner, we wrote a shitlib parody book. And we did a book signing in LA, and it was at a comedy club. And I said, "Hey, Jimmy, you and Steph want to open? I have a bucket list. I've never done comedy, but I've always wanted to." So I opened for Rick Overton, Jimmy, and Steph, and it was the only time I ever did comedy, but it actually went pretty well. And you could actually hear Jimmy and Rick cracking up in the background.
I am 85% blind, so if you guys do not laugh, you are ableist twat waffles. I will call you out. Sometimes I go out with my girlfriends to the bar, and I'm sure so many of you guys understand what happens, but you go to the bar and you're like, I'm done with politics. All I do is talk about politics. I need, none tonight. That's it. No politics. And 5 minutes in, I hear someone sneeze at a bar. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck anyone who doesn't support Medicare for all. That person just fucking sneezed. And you know what? They probably fucking don't have insurance. This is fucking bullshit. And then, I'm done. So yay, Medicare for all.
So it didn't go too bad. It was a blast. It was so much fun. I would like to do it again, if I'm honest. I love making people laugh. I wanted to say a few things. Let me see if I can read my writing. Donations, as far as all the ones we've gotten so far, thank you so much. This is the bare bones, but we do, of course, have many other expenses. I think we're probably going to have to get like $500 worth of water alone, because last year we got water by the truckloads. That's the downside to doing it in July. So ice and water, we're probably looking at $500 just for that. And, there's certainly added expenses. So anything you guys can chip in, it does go directly to our movement. Also, if you've tuned in the whole night thus far, you have seen me say we're going to all be there for 5 days in D.C. So it's not just the march and rally, not that that's like a little thing but we actually have civil disobedience, we have disruption, we have protest, we have mutual aid, and we're going to be there 5 days. So we won't be sharing all of what we're doing, but if you're going to the march and you want to reach out, my DMs are open. Also, my DMs are open for anyone who would like to speak at the march. We have 2 open slots. If you are in DC area, or you are willing to travel and you have a healthcare story, a personal healthcare story that you are comfortable speaking in front of a large crowd, and you want to share, whether it's medical bankruptcy, or you don't have insurance, or you have a disability, or you work in healthcare, anything like that. If you are passionate and you want to share your story, please DM me on Twitter, or if you don't have Twitter, you can go to our website and email us from there. But we'd love to hear from you. Even if you can't go to DC, we love to hear your stories. We absolutely love them. And you guys are the reasons we're doing this. We're not, I've been doing this before I became disabled 2 years ago. Like, we're not doing this shit for ourselves. So many of you guys inspire us every single day. I see so many stories on, social media and articles and such, of pain so many of you are going through. I get sent mutual aid requests at least 5 times a day to boost. People are in so much pain, and we are doing this for everyone that is feeling this pain. This sharing your stories is how people's minds change. That is the way to do it. By sharing the pain you have gone through. Jo Sheree, her story changes lives. People need to hear these things. And that's why events like this are so powerful. You're going to get people say, what's the point? Things like that. Well, I'm telling you, this is my kink. When I'm standing there in DC and I have comrades all around me who all are fighting for the same exact thing, it is fucking beautiful and the real epitome of what solidarity is. So next, I believe, who I have. Oh,
hi.
That's my I'm running for president speech. Did I do it wrong?
The stump speech?
I was like, this is starting to sound like a speech. Well, thank you so much for joining us. What do you think so far?
Oh man, it's been great. Seriously, it's been an awesome night. It really has. And blown away by the donations that we've gotten. It's just it's really overwhelming. So yeah.
I know. And, also, before we go to you, you and I are going to do something to try and raise money.
Yep.
And sorry, guys, it's not an OnlyFans. Sorry. We are going to, we're playing music trivia next Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a minimum of a $5 donation. And then you can join Jesse and myself, and we will be asking music trivia to all in the audience, and then we'll have a prize. So
I promise we'll go easy on people. I'm a music snob, so it's going to be hard for me to keep them tame. But if you want one or two, like, God tier, just brutal questions, I got some just unnecessary music trivia. That's my bread and butter. So
well, me too, and that's why I asked you, because I'm like,
right?
We're gonna be like naming the most obscure shit possible, and I was like, I'm gonna have my friend who doesn't really listen to the same music review my questions to see if she even like comprehends what
That's
I'm
a good
asking.
idea. Yeah.
So it'll be for, I was going to say all ages, but all, music knowledge.
There you go.
All right, Jesse. Well, what time are we at? I can't even see.
About quarter after. Close.
Okay, it wasn't that late.
Yeah.
Okay,
Look at that.
cool. All right, love, take it away.
All right. So this first song, I fought a long time, longer than I ever have, to record this song, and I finally got it last night, right after my stream with Indy, and this is going to be on my next record coming out on 4th of July, called The Grift. And I don't have an awful lot of songs that I ever felt like ended on an uplifting note or like a note of hope, but this was one. And I really, in spite of all the trouble it gave me, I love this song. This is called Powerless.
They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. It's 'cause you are. They'll gladly stagnate a living wage, snap the chains and bury it. Labor slaves in rusty cages dragged behind a chariot, led by Mr. Racial Jungle, Joseph R. Iscariot, fighting over scraps as they barrage us all with variants and BuzzFeed clickbait. Straight until we're paralyzed, trying to distract us from the concentration camps that Joe had swore he'd close, only chose to amplify, where they got 50-something kids in cages made for 5 to occupy. And no, she hasn't seen the camps, but Harris swears they're paradise. She tells us the facilities are safe, and that right down to the women, they are regularly sterilized. And then she throws her head back and she proceeds to laugh that sort of heartless cackle you'd expect from someone working steadfastly on behalf of the virus in a Congress full of parasites. And honey, where was I? I was busy cashing every blue check, demonstrating plainly all the narratives expected from the verified. I was busy breeding verbal leeches by the terabyte. Train them to exsanguinate the wealthy while they sleep at night. Bleed the oil barons dry and barren. Say they showed us how to share and now we share alike. Tell them I contracted rabies from a feral mic. Now I'm just another species losing sleep to noise pollution and these glaring lights. Forced to change its habits and adapt to just survive. But now it's safe to say that some of us are thriving in the moment, throwing shit on presidential homes beneath the Paris skies. So if you feel like you're just powerless, I guess you bought the lie. But I can tell they're petrified of our collective might. And I can hear those gentrifiers weeping at the sight of our collective rights. And I only can imagine the intensifying fear of knowing revolution's near. And all that's left to do is simply wallow in the thick anticipation of a rabid bite. Well, baby, one day you can ask your leaders just what that was like before you grab a slice. So, baby, if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. Now, if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. You see, they'll pay you hourly, tax them each apart, and build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards, and tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark because you aren't. Because we aren't. You see, they'll pay you hourly, tax them each apart, and make you build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards, where they'll tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark because you aren't. Because we aren't. And that's powerless.
All right, this next song, this was one that happened from one moment that the whole song all of a sudden was in my head, and I needed to make it happen, and that was the Capitol Hill sleepover to pretend to stop the eviction moratorium. And Franco from Frank Analysis, shouting out, what about people that owe money and being drowned out by jams getting pumped up? They kicked up some music, and that was the end of that. And hearing him drowned out by that crowd, asking such a serious, urgent question was one of the most dystopian, fucking Soylent Green moments I've ever had in my life. And I reached out to Franco and asked if I could sample it, and thank God he said yes. And here we are. This ended up being a bewildered kind of ode to the people that can still thank politicians that aren't giving us anything, even the bare minimum. It's a position I don't envy, and I'm fascinated by it in a weird way. Yeah, this is off a record called War Crime Jams to Pork 2. This is called Love Your Prison.
It looks to me as though you learned to love your prison. I guess you'd say you made it your own. Who knew that freedom's such a difficult decision? I bet you finally feel like you're home. Home. Right in the center where the halves meet. You were proud of incremental half speeds. You were getting down in that AOC dance line, hands tied, nodding to the backbeat. And you would secret service dive in front of any representative alive, being asked for the very bare minimum. You'd turn into that same kind of hard right villain you detested should we mention they could ever muster maximum. Because that liberal denial's such a lofty ataraxia, where all your morals take a backseat, not up in the cab, but in hidden panels made by federal human traffickers. So if you trust the autopilot, then you're just a sleeping passenger, and you're passively accepting that it isn't us the bastards serve. You're making peace with all the evil walking on this rancid earth. You're seeking unity with those who bound your hands at birth, and glancing up at fascists on a bloody day is thinking they just need a push. God, I'm not a holy man, but I'm praying for a burning bush. Yeah, I know you love to look away, but love, you need to look. Now there are many massacres this country manufactured that will never make the books. Now here's your fucking hook. It looks to me as though you learned to love your prison. I guess you'd say you made it your own. Who knew that freedom's such a difficult decision? I bet you finally feel like you're home. Home. Home on the range of excuses, justify some fracking, water down pollution, paint a fresh coat of bipartisan charm over backroom collusion. Your consent is being manufactured by illusion. Marketing executives in federal seclusion, working day and night to keep you just the side of lucid, and too beat down for calling out abuses. So fuck all these progressives who can speak on revolution once they've emptied all your powder out and spit on all your fuses. See, I prefer to judge a leader not by quality of tweets, but the six-figure book deals she chooses. All the donors he betrays, the donors he would gladly take a bullet before he refuses. The slogans he reuses, buzzwords he produces, and he spews like mucus. Well, two can play at that. So here's the inner dialogue of every time I snap, and it's been fine-tuned to ruthless. Just saying politics are useless. A bunch of loose lips tweeting cute shit, power suits, taxpayer booze trips, and a bunker at the ready when the shoe flips. Cause you know there will be no news clips. There will just be It looks to me as though you learned to love your prison. I guess you'd say you made it your own. Who knew that freedom's such a difficult decision? I bet you finally feel like you're home. Home.
All right, samples out of the way. I can hop back in chat. It's weird. I've missed everybody. It's not. I don't like not seeing you.
All right.
Oh, but you don't need to hear me coming out twice. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't going to play this next song tonight originally, and then this afternoon in one of the Medicare for All group chats, there was some awesome graffiti outside of one of the Aetna buildings, and I had actually just recorded a song the other night for the Grift called Aetna Demigod, and I mentioned that in the chat, and Ricky was like, "Well, you're going to play it tonight, right?" I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna now. Yeah, I kind of have to, right? So bear with me. I just kind of put this song all together finally a few days ago. Just figured out how I would play it acoustic about an hour ago, and this is the maiden voyage. So this song is going to be also on
Do it, because
we're
that
doing
was
it live.
my Aetna here in Harrisburg that I looked at every fucking day.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I fucking
Okay,
worked
there you
next door to that shit. And I used to have to look at that building every fucking day for over 3 years.
Oh,
and
man.
then the boys texted me those pictures, and I was like, that is the most
Wasn't that
beautiful thing I
fantastic?
ever saw in my life.
Yep.
So, Andy, I sent you the pictures, didn't I? Can you put those up? I was really excited. I was like, this is amazing. And the fact that it was on my home turf, I was like, yes, I am proud.
Okay.
I think I sent those to Andy.
Yeah, we got to see. I can't remember exactly what it said, and I don't want to paraphrase it because it was just so flawless.
Sorry, Joy, I didn't get it. I didn't see it from your.
Oh, goody pants.
Um,
Okay, here.
bump.
I'm gonna send them to you real quick so you can just
Yeah, this is
share
worth
your
it.
screen.
Okay.
I all interrupted you and shit. You know what?
No,
Oh, you know what? Unmute. Jesse, let me tell you something. Okay, I'm gonna send them to him and then we'll show him after your song.
Cool.
Okay.
I like it. All right. So yeah, this will be on the Grift coming out on Independence Day. This is called Aetna Demigod.
I didn't have to wait for long, never had to change a song. I just sing it like a raised alarm, smile when you say I'm wrong. And I can't even feign disarm, play while you play the charms. And I don't know the page we're on, but this is where you say you're wrong. Now's the perfect time for you to burn the bridge to self-forgiveness. Now's your chance. Take a stand. Stay your hand before you cast another vote for corporate interest. Just another vote that chokes your hopes, owning your own home or opening a business. You know, they love to say their hands were tied. The stars just weren't aligned for them to get their votes in line, see their promises delivered. But they killed it in an instant. Bills don't die by accident. They're all assassinated on behalf of the congressionally kismet by some lobbyists who see themselves as agents of clandestine fate. And not just fences in a prison, dealing in the stolen goods of sleeping slaves, trading on the futures of their children, betting on a spread of daily debt where every grave's creating profit by the billions. For fascists lurking in the wings and all of their affiliates, and every Aetna demigod our senators conduct their darkest dealings with. it really gets impossible to document or fingerprint. Because it isn't just a pattern of corruption, it's the very fabric making up the structure of the system that we're living in. So dash your hopes and down a margarita goes. You box the shadows, take a little nap, and then you get back in and swing again. But if that margarita made you sick, you probably wouldn't drink again. So if you're voting either party, honey, think again. I recommend you steel your nerves and never serve an officer, a president, a despot, or a king again. And mark my words, the day will come where we will rise and sing again. And if the country makes you sick, well, no one's forcing you to drink again. I didn't have to wait for long, I never had to change a song. I just sing it like a raised alarm. Smile when you say I'm wrong. But I can't even feign disarm. Fake while you play the charms. And I don't know the page we're on, but here's where you say you're wrong. No, this is where you finally admit you weren't ignorant. That you boldly voted Joe like an informed and blissful idiot. Chose to blur the parts of Biden you don't find the prettiest. Now you choose uplifting news and filter out the grittiest. But love, the truth is something coarse enough that even when it's hidden, it's apparent when you feel it on your fingertips. And I know it's hard to deal with from a distance, and up close the truth is hideous. But there's just no getting rid of it. You have to let it in, or it just worries at your skin in every moment, loud or intimate. So shake it off for fuck's sakes. You don't have to celebrate or be so proud of progress by imaginary increments. You don't have to heap such constant praise on fucking villains, like they're stillborn promises or honestly just isolated incidents, and not the product of the principle of privilege. Not intentional eugenics just by any other synonym. Covered up with desperate clusterfucks of rosy images. Labeled plain by any other name except for what the fucking image is. So once you've stared the page down enough, you'll spot the difference. One is red and one is blue, and that's the only truth. Cause neither one delivers on that promise of deliverance. One is red and one is blue, and that's the only difference. And the rest are isolated and imaginary incidents.
And that's Aetna Demigod. Shout out to whoever vandalized Aetna. If I had money, I'd put you in my will. All right. Oof. Oh, you have the pictures? I think she's got them.
Have them, Mandy.
Ooh. We're actually about to do another first too. We're really I'm pulling out some reserves. I went down in the cellar tonight.
Charlie back in the house.
Feeling back in my hand. Thanks, COVID.
Thank you all so much. I can't wait to read all these comments when I get off the air. We really do need some more help, unfortunately. And I know things are certainly tight for all of us. But even if everybody watching could just chip in $5 or what have you.
Here it is. Denying claims is our business model. Shots fired. I love it. God damn.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
They have an entire department of underwriters.
Right.
So, bananas. But yeah, I think we are at... Okay. So 2 more. You can do 2 more.
2 more? Ooh, okay. Okay.
And then, but nobody leave because I'm coming back.
All right. Let's. Okay. my God, I feel like I got to do red pilled. No, you know what? I'm sorry, red pilled, not tonight. This is the same length, so this is going to be the new red pilled. I have done this song as a spoken word piece. I've never actually played this song with the choruses. This is the title track for the next record. This is The Grift.
Last stand, and I came to deliver. Been called a Clinton operative, a Russian, and a grifter. By libs, a washing student debt, proud to be an intern, sucking up to pigs who'll get a tax cut in the midterms. You cut the ties, but never heal the wrist burns. Capitalist shackles wrap and penetrate like ringworms around the necks of those whose deaths will not affect the king's purse or the coffers of the company the king serves, who manufacture mandated tinctures. Their safety data hanging from a fixture, half a mile skyward, just dangling from the rafters. My grift is sobbing till I'm cackling with laughter. I guess I would have made a decent actor. I'd be great at crying on command until they cut plus 40 minutes after. When the director waves their hand, it ain't a rap, it's now a legal matter. Sugar, my grift is weeping on a mic until I'm hacking up airstrike verses like it's bombs away and batter up. Swinging on these bigots, they keep killing us to fatten up. Kill the switch, eat the rich, I think they're finally fat enough. Grab your knife and fork, the world is yours, just say you've had enough. And if you're comfy, you can go ahead and laugh it up. Go tell me how the most important vote I'll ever cast is like the choosing of a bus, in that it might not take you anywhere you want, but no one can deny the fact the bus is now no longer where it was, and that's the kind of progress we should celebrate and trust. That's spoken like a kid who never took a bus. Spoken like a piece of shit that used some cash to mask his stink and truly thinks he's one of us. Spoken like a terminally unserious person who equates our cries for rights to mixed up orders from a server. It paints a privileged picture of what you would label urgent if the worst thing you experienced in life has been the time your waiter accidentally brought a tray of gold flake scallop when you clearly ordered gold flaked urchin. And now you're storming out the restaurant, hopping in a Tesla, you got 80 pounds of Tony Fauci merchant. Rewind to a change won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride. Rewind to a chance won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride. It's best to place your bets on weaponizing the identity of every limp progressive claiming grassroots integrity. Policy's a slippery slope for all of its complexity, so flex your brave resistance with this Ilhan Omar NFT. Numbered one of 723. And each depicts her valiantly championing a bill before she lays it at a donor's feet. And she can throw her hands up in the air with AOC and say, if only Nina Turner could have voted present too, that's why we need another seat. We need some more progressives we elect to only tweet, who live to serve Humana and their label of elective slapped on every patient's gravest needs. Meanwhile, every station plays the theme that medical professionals agree on the effectiveness and safety of injections authorized for this emergency. And in other purely unrelated news, the profits of the ones who manufacture vaccines increased by nearly 36 billion with a fucking B. Jesus Christ, it feels like we're some only ones that see. Sometimes it feels like all of us are lost at sea. And then every time we think we see an island on the tip of the horizon, it turns out to be another measure making sure we're kept in the watchful eye of murderous authority. So I guess my grift is crying for the future they denied us, where the people who would buy us are a mockable minority. And we are more than genomes under warranty. And we are more than serfs in constant quarantine. If I had a single breath left, I'd let the chorus scream that I denounce our leaders claiming none for all and more for me. 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 Rewind to the chains won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride. Rewind to a chains will make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride. Oh, and that's the grift. All right. I'm going to fire off a quick spoken word piece and then I'm out of here. This, interestingly enough, started off cleaning out a junk drawer, finding a Kennedy $50, and thinking about what we did. Hey, there's a pick I lost earlier. Hot damn. Thinking about what we did to Kennedy, and then thinking about what a hero we tried to make him out to be later, like we didn't do what we did, and how close we were to Medicare for all, to you know, a national healthcare system like first world countries get to have, and it was taken away pretty quickly. So this is for Kennedy and for anyone else that faced or is facing that same thing America loves to do, where once they've neutralized you, then they're happy to celebrate you because you're not a threat anymore. So a huge, huge debt of gratitude to everyone from March for Medicare for All. The fact that you guys, you know what I do and you let me come do it means the world. Really does. I still, when I play Red Pilled, I close my eyes and I'm at the State House in Columbus again. So I love you guys so much, and thank you. Yeah, this is called $50. I found a $50 in a dresser drawer and spent the time I would have spent just staring at the floor, staring down at JFK, trying to imagine the immoral sort of irony that makes a nation feign commemoration of a man that it had murdered by the CIA, trying to envision us if we possessed the health care he had talked about in '58. I guess the takeaway is it's a piece of fucking cake to celebrate somebody's bravery once you've assured they're safely in the grave. And I bet if Pat Tillman were alive today that he would say the same. I'm sure we're in for more if we let Julian decay. I bet that they would put him on a quarter. I bet that they would name a conference room in his honor at the IMF, the New York Times, the FBI, and Citibank. I guess the takeaway is it's a no-risk softball pitch to uplift somebody's image once their image is the one thing that remains. And the worst is when it's coming from a figurehead who's funding every agency that authored the remains, and working with the agency that doctored those remains, the agency that obfuscates the facts and spins a constant storm of shifting blame. I guess the takeaway is that America will sing your praises loud as day to celebrate the fact you and the threat you posed have passed away. Shit, they'll throw you a parade, and business just as usual will live another day. And all of the insurance gods will bathe in all the praise and make donations rain. And all their winged, wicked little lobbyists will blow their horns and light the flames. Then the ceremony starts, and they in single column march up to the weathered onyx arch and sand the marker down that bears your name, so that you no longer are and never were until your hideous rebirth within the corporate frame, until you're back from the dead and then bound for all eternity in propaganda's chains. It's the very ritual that whittled down the legacy of Martin Luther King into a parable on unity for liberals to claim. And once they learned it worked, the world would never be the same. And now it's getting worse. I guess they're dialing in their aim. History is a straight line, but so's a moving train, which is heavily dependent on our infrastructure grade. Now we're building back better in a nation built on slaves, so you can guess the ultimate direction that our pathway to the future paves. They don't want you living, or they'd offer you a living wage. They don't want you feeding any homeless. It's just best to leave them freezing in the alleyway. They don't want you speaking words of hope unto the hopeless, or they'll do you up like JFK. I found $50 in my dresser, and I spent the rest of my whole day depressed because this constant drop in pressure means that you can catch the bends from simply sitting up in bed awake. It looks like 2022 is really not the year for you to have your lives improved. I guess you'll have to wait. But not to fret. Election season's just around the bend. Why don't you go ahead and save the date, so that you can throw yourself before the magistrate and beg to have your family saved? You don't know the people you elect to lead you more than what their ad portrays. You can't tell their offerings of saccharin and arsenic from ordinary aspartame. And you can't really comprehend the kind of greed this country feeds upon until you're Jackie O wearing close to half a brain. And probably the half that would have seen us passing M4A. All to keep the pieces in their places in the never-ending profit game. All to weave a tapestry of ampersands, each allow a claim adjuster room to just dismiss you with a callous hand like fuck you and your meds. Fuck you for requesting a procedure that you need so you can stand. Fuck you and your family and your poor demands. So welcome to the land where we'll assassinate a man and then put him on a $50 stadium or stamp and proclaim ourselves the greatest country ever master planned, killing off its citizens, enriching all its brands. And that's $50, which will also be on the grift. That's my time. Whew, who needs a drink?
Oh, am I? Oh, I didn't realize I was back on.
Oh, hi.
Okay, so first, let me clarify. We do not let you come on. We ask you to come on. And we love you in return as well.
Thank
you have
so
been
much.
one of our biggest supporters from the get. And you and I are friends, so it makes it even better. But I just love what you're doing so much. And I love you. I have goosebumps. Like you're amazing. And, you know, you say that we inspire you, but you inspire us too. And it's important to acknowledge, you know, so many people watching and so many who tuned in tonight and so many who joined us tonight have inspired so many of us as well. And I know everyone on the team has been inspired by so many of you guys. And it's incredible. And events like these are solidarity. This is solidarity. Like, this is it. This is all of us coming together and, you know, having fun and speaking truth. And it's fucking beautiful. And I'm so glad that you're a part of it.
Glad to be, seriously, anytime. You guys know that.
All right, Jesse. Thank you so much.
Much love. Have a great night. You too.
Well, thank you guys all so much for watching. We are incredibly appreciative of the donations we've received. We are not at the point we need to be, unfortunately. And we didn't really expect to be quite honest. But we do certainly still need some help to get these bare necessities here. And it's a month from tomorrow. This is crazy. It's always so bananas when you work on something for months and months, and then it's like, oh my God, it's 30 days away. So, and a lot of these places want you to pay in full in order to reserve things. So that's a problem that we've been coming into. So we're like looking into these places and haven't been able to put, our names on those contracts because we haven't had the funds to actually sign the papers and make it solidified. So we could definitely use some more help. Even if you guys have a few dollars to chip in, it's so trite, but like literally anything does help. Like it's in all seriousness, it really does. This is not easy to put on. We are all 100% volunteers who are just coming to DC from across the country to just stir some shit up. And we'll be there 5 days. So we're ready. We are ready. It is way past time, and we will not be there to, placate politicians or anything like that. When we are there, we will be demanding what we are owed, demanding healthcare justice, demanding an end to the eugenics of the poor that we are witnessing every single day. That is what this is about. Ending this. Everybody has the right to live, but not just live, to thrive. People are existing. They're not living. They're not flourishing. This needs to happen, and it only happens when people come together and get out in those fucking streets. So please, if you can make it to DC, please, 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 please. And please tell your friends, your family, please share all our posts on social media. That's how people find out about it. And again, I want to hear from you guys. My Twitter DMs are open. If you have a story and you want to speak in DC, let me know. If you have a story and can't come to DC, let me know. Maybe we can make a video or something. We want to hear from you guys. It's not just us. We need to hear story after story after story so people know this isn't a one-off. Like, there are many people in this situation. And thank you again so much, all of you, for watching. I have a few thank yous here. And if I forget someone, I'm going to cry. Oh, yes. And next Wednesday, me and Jesse, music trivia, 9 p.m. Eastern. That'll be fun. Let me see. So thank yous. Thank you to Andy, my behind the scenes dude. Appreciate you as always. He did our 3-day, 20-hour summit 2 months ago. So he is our savior. Andrew, my co-host, who you guys know from Postmortem Breakdown, he's been doing the ban hammer and putting the comments on the screen. I don't know if we've had any ban hammers, but just in case. All of our donors, obviously, you guys have blown me away. And like, honestly, like, the little donations are what really choke me up. I mean, all of them do, but like the $5 ones and stuff like that hits home, because that's what I've done. I've done $5, $10, $20, to things, because a lot of times that's all most of us have. So I know for people who are donating like $5, $10, I know how much that $5 or $10 means to you. And it means so much that you guys are giving to us to help us do what we're passionate about, and hopefully help all of you guys in the process. That's their goal. what else? All of our guests, obviously, all of them, they were phenomenal. Just didn't have long enough with them. I'm used to doing hour shows. And, thank you so much to Real Progress in Action for streaming, Real Progressives for donating. Holy fucking shit. Fam. Holy shit. And don't forget, they gave that challenge to all the other, independent media streamers who all talk about, let's get in the streets, let's do stuff. Match that $2,000 or go above. Because I know I've been sending DMs, I've been sending emails, and I have mine on red, so I can tell when people read them. I know who you are. Put your money where your mouth is, literally. INN, Indie News Network, thank you so much for streaming this. We always appreciate all your support. Subscribe to both Real Progress in Action, Real Progressives, and Indie News Network. Last but certainly not least, our team. I was the lead national organizer last year on the 56 events across the country. Andy, can you show that meme or graphic? I'm an old person, so I always say meme. This is 56 locations. Last July 24th, we had events in all 56 of these cities. Never been done in history. And we are 100% volunteer. It was exhausting. I'm so proud that we did that. And I'm so just inspired by all of the work we did to make that happen. And this time we are focusing on DC as a whole. Because there were 56, there were smaller ones spread out. And we want to make it one place so everyone can come together and we can be as loud as possible. So thank you so much to my teammates. This is not just me. I'm the one on the camera, but this is, no, there are a team of many. So thank you all so much. You guys are my second family. Thank you to everyone tuning in. Please smash that like button, smash subscribe, and also share this out. Promote our tweets. Follow M4M for All on Twitter and subscribe to m4mforall.org to get the notifications of the plannings we're doing within the next 30 days. We got some more awesome things coming up. So thank you all so much. Everything is much appreciated. Thank you. Much love. National Improved Medicare for All.